And now, the International Vienna for Everyone. And now, the International Vienna for Everyone.
But you do have quite a British accent.
Yeah, because I am originally British.
Oh.
So born in London, born and raised. So I was, I think, 18 when I first went to move to France to study, and I loved it there. Then moved back once I graduated when I was 21. I moved back to France for 2 years.
I was just going to ask you to put the...
sorry.
You can stay where you are. Just pull the microphone. Yes. That's
there we
right
go.
Sound. Yes. Exactly.
And so I lived there for 2 years in France. And then I was thinking, okay, what do I do? I graduated with a law degree. So I thought, okay, I'll go back and do the sensible thing and become a lawyer. But then I applied to several law firms, and one of them was a government one, and I didn't get in. And I realized that I actually wasn't disappointed. And that for me was a sign that maybe I didn't really want to be a lawyer, but I just did it because I felt like, yeah, you've got a law degree.
Well,
of course.
It's classical. You're either going to be a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer.
Yeah, exactly. And so when that didn't happen, I thought, okay, well, what do you want to do? If you could choose, what would it be? And I worked with an events company for a while, just to kind of earn some money whilst I was thinking. And I was like, oh, actually, I'd really like to do a master's. I do a lot of youth work and stuff. So maybe I could do a master's in international development and then go work for UNICEF, save the world. That's the goal. Yeah. And I was like, I can go to Brazil maybe with my international development masters. And so that was I started that.
Why in Brazil?
Yeah, I just met some people from Brazil and got on really well with them. And then I enrolled in the Brazilian Portuguese class. And I was like, okay, this is all coming together. This is the big
How
vision.
old were you?
Oh, good question. I was 20... I want to say 25, something like that. Yeah. And so I've begun the master's, but that exact same year, I started dating my husband, the person who's my husband now. And he's from the Netherlands. So soon the plan went from go to Brazil and save the world to go to the Netherlands. Yeah.
Go to the Netherlands and get married, settle down.
Yeah. So that changed quite quickly, but I finished my master's and then I think I handed in my thesis, and maybe a month later, we got married. So we had a year dating, whilst also doing my master's, also planning a wedding in a different country, and then moved to the Netherlands, lived there for 8 years, we had 2 sons there, then moved to Austria in 2020, and last year had our 3rd and final son.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, that's I'm British, but I've lived in now 4 different countries until here.
Why Austria?
Yeah, good question.
What brought you here? There must have been some link or something.
So I mean, the reason behind the move was because, of course, I had moved to the Netherlands to join Gideon, my husband, and I learned Dutch, and I felt settled. But we always said, hey, one day we should live somewhere where the country is new for both of us, where we both don't speak the language, where we both have to figure stuff out. So yeah, it's 3 years ago.
You're back in the middle of pandemic and you choose to explore the country.
That bit we didn't plan for. So we had the idea at the beginning of 2020, let's do it this year. The boys are young enough. They'll adapt really easily. So let's, if we're going to do it, let's do it now. And we said, we had an apartment in the Netherlands, and we put that up for sale. And I said, if it sells, that will be our sign to go. And if it doesn't sell, okay, then we'll rethink our
Why
plan.
wouldn't it sell? If you put an apartment for sale in Vienna, for example, you have no doubts that it will sell.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't it sell in the Netherlands?
Just the market at the time. We weren't sure how quickly it would go, and also for the amount that it would go for, because we also were like, well, if we're going to do it at a loss, if we sell it at a loss, it doesn't make sense for us. And you have to have this like a value. They come and they value the place, and we weren't sure what the value was going to be. And so it was kind of, we were pretty sure that it would sell, but there's always the part of you which is like, what if it doesn't? Then what do you do? What's your plan?
So it's more like if it's going to sell with the price that we put it and in like within this month.
Yeah.
Of course that you can sell it at some point, but you want it pretty much a bit fast so you can move here, right?
Yeah. We were like, it's not, we don't want to be waiting for years for the sale. So let's, and then we got an offer, I think a month later. So that was also quite fast. And yeah, we were like, okay, I guess we're going. I remember like I was getting ready that morning, and Gideon like opened the bathroom door and he just stood there, and I was like, are you okay? What are you doing? Like, why are you just standing there? He's like, we've got an offer and it's a good offer. I think we're going. We're moving country. And I was like, and then suddenly it kind of, even though we've been thinking about it and weighing up all the options, it was suddenly real. Yeah. And then the Austria part we visited here 6 years ago. And I remember walking around Vienna and in the center and all the old buildings and just the culture and people sitting outside. And we came in May, so probably the best time to visit. And I said to him, I'd love to, maybe this is a place where we could live one day. But I said it super casually. But then as we came to the point of thinking, well, actually now we do want to move, that memory came back. And I was like, well, how about Vienna? How about Austria? We knew the friends that we had visited way back then, they were still here. So it was like, well, maybe we can talk to them and just, they can help us figure out how we can do this move. And so then, Dubai was also on the list. We were invited to join an organization there. But we felt that was a bit too far. And I think the grandparents on both sides were like, don't go, that's too far. So Austria, Vienna was a good middle place for everybody. But yeah, what we didn't plan for, of course, was that we would dive into, we moved August 2020, and I think Austria had just come out of a lockdown. And then I think a month after we arrived, it was back in one, and then a heavy one. So yeah, that kind of made the beginning years in Austria quite tricky, especially for us as adults. The kids were able to go to kindergarten, so that was great. We were so glad that they stayed open because then they had some social contact with other kids. But for us, it was harder to, I think it's hard anyway as a foreigner to meet people in Austria.
And with the lockdown, it's double hard.
Yeah.
But what happened then? You got a job here, or how did you plan? Like, all right, we're going to Austria. We have we got some money because we just sold the house. We're gonna invest it. We buy an apartment in Vienna as well, or we invested in a business. How did it work?
So we worked out it was enough to. We came without a job. Like, I think if I was to do this again, it's not good, not advice to anybody to move without a much more concrete plan. Because we kind of moved, and I think we had certain ideas of what life would be like. So we thought, it would be easy to get work. It's an international city. The UN is here. It must be very possible for non-German speakers to find work.
But
and my husband, he did have kind of a contract for a short-term project that he was going to help on. So we knew that he would have that. He was starting that, and then the idea was like, I would use the first few months to get the kids settled in kindergarten, and then also, at the same time, start my process. But then once we arrived, we realized, it's a little bit different than we had thought. This could be a little trickier. And so I think I registered quite soon afterwards as a freelance writer. And then I actually managed to get work that way. So not being employed somewhere, but offering my writing services. And it kind of, things kind of grew from there. So thankfully we had the buffer of selling our apartment to kind of sustain us. And we did, first we stayed in an Airbnb for, I think, 6 weeks. And then found an apartment. And again, that was something else that was tricky because apartment owners that we were looking to hire from wanted 3 months of salary. And we were like, we don't have salary. Okay, well, do you have a contract? I was like, I don't have a contract. I don't have a contract. I'm not registered here as self-employed. Oh, okay. And we kept getting no's because, and I understand. They were like, well, how can we know that you're going to pay your rent every month? Until we found this one.
Well, how will I know that my boss is not going to fire me anyway?
Yeah, exactly. This was our fault. You have no guarantee that the next month, even if I show you 3 months,
and even if you offer I'm going to pay you a full year in advance, they usually reject that as well. Yeah. So what kind of guarantee do you want more than this? I'm paying you 1 year up front. Yeah,
exactly. It was we were kind of getting a little bit frustrated and thinking, well, how can we can't stay in an Airbnb forever. Yeah. That's not doable. That will go through our savings very quickly. But at some point we found a place, visited it, and the owner, I think the previous tenants were not necessarily the most, didn't look after the place necessarily very well, or they weren't really the ideal tenants. And then when we came as a family, I think the owner was like, I want something steady, stable. And I think they saw that in us. And so they said, okay, I know you don't have the 3 months, blah, 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 but I'm willing to go into a contract with you guys. And so very relieved. We then moved in and kind of, started to figure stuff out.
What area?
In the 7th.
In the 7th, that's a great area.
Yeah. And when we spoke to some Austrian people that we met afterwards, and we kind of told them, this is the price we're paying, and they were like, it must be really damaged. It must be really because that or kind of price. Far or something. Yeah, you don't get that kind of price here. And they were like, oh no, they just redid the place because the previous tenants weren't great. And they're like, okay, never, ever, never leave.
Yeah, that would be a great advice.
And so we were, really thankful, and we like it. And it's near parks and everything. So, we're happy where we are. And I spent a lot of time there, of course, because the first 2 years of lockdown meant that we worked from home. And that wasn't, we realized also that we like working independently, but not always from the four walls of our home.
So you moved to a co-working space, right?
Yeah. So we tried a couple. And one of them has since gone bankrupt again because of COVID, and then because not knowing how could you be open if with the Groene pass, who's vaccinated, who's not, and the rules, and so that went bankrupt. We worked in the IKEA for a bit when they opened again, and the one in Westbahnhof, and now we're here at Zoku. So
how do you like it here?
Yeah, it's really lovely. That those of you listening won't be able to see, but there's an amazing view. So if you get the chance to come, they have a beautiful roof terrace, and the co-working spaces are great. The people are international, so that's also that also feels nice. And there's still kind of an Austrian vibe, like you can still hear German being spoken or speak German if you want to try it out. So it's kind of that middle ground where you can be yourself, or I feel that I can be myself, but also you're not completely detached from the culture. And I think that was important for us to also feel like you are still in Vienna, but without the pressure to only speak German, because I think often, that can be the case. Well, you're in Austria now, we only speak German, and you're struggling to
Does
put a
it happen
sentence
to you
together.
many times? Like people just force you to either speak German or not at all?
Mostly in official. So like I had to deal with I had to deal a couple times with the insurance, like social insurance. And I called them and it was, to say that I was going on maternity leave, what's the process? And I was like, I can understand German, but I can't speak it. And they were like, well, sorry, but that's what we speak here. And I was like, okay, but is there any middle ground? I was like, I am pregnant and I need to figure this out. Like, please help. And then she's like, no, we speak German here. So I had like my phone in my hand with DeepL and I was typing and trying to pronounce words. And then at the end of the conversation, she said, in perfect English, I wish you all the best with your pregnancy. Thanks for calling. She said? Yeah. And I was like, you speak English.
Can't believe it.
I'm an English speaker and I really recognize the privilege that I have that in most places I go, there's the expectation that English will be spoken. And so I'm always really keen to learn the language of where I live. When I lived in France, I learned French. When I lived in the Netherlands, I learned Dutch. Before I moved to Brazil, I tried to learn Portuguese because I don't have this expectation that everybody should speak to me in English. But I do feel like it's important to find a language that's common for people. And it's like, if I can help you by speaking English or allowing you to speak English, then why not do that? I think it's so hard when, people have like English as a second language even, and they are like, look, I've already proven that I can learn another language. Like, don't make this any harder for me than it needs to be. I think that's a bit of a shame.
It's just a very logic. If you can help someone in a way, just do it and that's it. I know what language this country speaks. I know what's the official language. Now I'm pregnant and I just need 2 sentences to tell me what should I do. Can you find a way to tell me that? You can tell me, give me your email, I'll send it to you then you can translate it. You can find a way to help someone. So it seems like more they don't want to help people. And it doesn't match sometimes. I was also talking to a person the other day that works in a governmental institution, and I was telling them, how is this thing that Vienna keeps being promoted? And some Viennese institutions invite everyone to work here, to open businesses here. And then we all know that a lot of companies hire people from abroad to come here, to work here. And then there's a mismatch with other institutions that make things very, very hard, like the one you just mentioned, like MA35 that just doesn't give just doesn't want to do their job, or I don't know what goes on there. So why there's this mismatch, no one knows. Why the institutions that invite people to the country don't influence the institution that make the resident permit and give information regarding maternity leave and etc. Why they are not coordinating with each other? Is there a person or institution missing that controls all of them, or that probably is? So someone is not doing their job properly. We have to find
somebody's not talking
this
to
person
somebody,
who comes late to work and leaves early and doesn't do their job and doesn't answer the emails. There's a person there. We have to find the person.
There must. You're right. There must be. But I also wonder, like, so it's interesting because you have I feel like the political parties could have a role to play in saying, well, look, our attitude is to welcome people in, so therefore we have to change our institutions. But then the people who have the voting power are not the foreigners. And so the political parties, the thing you care about most is getting voted. And so then you'll care about the voters.
Yeah.
And the voters are not those who are struggling with with MA35 or with other institutions. And so I think that you have a mismatch there, because for the political party, it's not super interesting to fight hard for the rights of people who can't vote for you. And so you kind of want politicians who are going to say, wait a minute, every resident who is in Austria is important to us, whether or not they can vote for us. And so we're going to actively work towards creating a society and institutions and organizations that uphold the German language, because that is the national language, but that also have an attitude of we're welcoming and we're going to be hospitable, and we will make adaptations. And I think you see that happening. I don't know, there's a Facebook page which is like, I think Vienna for Foreigner. I don't know what it's called exactly, but it's run by the city of Vienna, and I think they give information in 5 or 6 different languages. And they run information evenings. And I'm like, okay, so there's already a start where you're like, hey, we recognize that you've moved to a country. That's a huge thing in itself. We're going to it's within our power to make this available for you. So we're going to do it. And I'm like, this is more of that, please. But it has to filter down to the individual conversations. And even to the individual people who sometimes, I've been told once I was with the kids and talking to them in English, and then somebody saying, hello, this is Austria, please speak to your children.
What?
I was like,
what was the situation like?
Just on the bus.
Who was the person? Probably an old lady.
Just an older gentleman, But I was just like,
they got nothing to do. They just go. I bet he wasn't going anywhere. He just jumps on buses and waits for people to speak in foreign languages to tell them that.
Yeah.
He wasn't going anywhere. He has nothing to do.
That was like, you have that as a shame. But on the other hand, I have also had positive experiences where I've tried to maybe speak German, or I've said like, I'm sorry, this is the end of my end of what Duolingo has taught me. Can I switch to English? And the other person, oh yeah, of course. And my English is not good, so can I respond to you in German? And actually the English was very good, but then the confidence maybe to speak back was missing. So you can have both experiences.
So what did you say to the man on the bus?
Oh, I speak English with my children. And I tried to say it in the little German that I had. I can say I speak English with my kids. And that was it. And then he said something else, but I was like, I'm okay. That the conversation's finished. Probably because he said
"Scheiße Ausländer." That's always what they say.
Yeah, I'm glad that there's also maybe a limit to what I understand. So then it doesn't. It just goes over my head. I'm like, okay, sounds good.
But did he say that to you in English at first?
No.
In German?
In German, yeah.
Well, in this case, you can just say, sorry, I don't speak German.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. That makes them more crazy.
That makes it even worse, probably. Yeah. But yeah. And now the irony is that because of going to school and kindergarten, our 7-year-old speaks, when he speaks German, people don't know that he wasn't born here. Yeah. So I have to try to listen to him and pick up words from him. And we'll get there, I think. Like I said, it's important for me to learn the language, but also knowing that it takes time.
Of course.
And you need to be able to mix with people. And when you spend your first year not really being able to mix with other people than at the supermarket, it's not going to get better much quicker. So
it's definitely, as you said earlier, it's time that the institutions and the whole country must finally recognize, at least for Vienna, that these 43% of people with foreign origins that live here are here.
Yeah.
You can't just ignore them totally.
No.
You can just act like we're not here. We're here, and we don't just want to be fed and keep our mouth shut. If you let us live here, then you have to let us live here properly.
Yeah.
So and also, as you were mentioning, the right to vote and everything, I understand that they might not want our decision because chances that we will leave the country are higher.
Yeah.
So we might vote today and tomorrow we leave the country and here keep your new deputies that we chose for you.
Yeah.
But at least there should be, let's say, a representative of a deputy, a member of parliament that represents the foreigners in Vienna. And that could be chosen. Maybe, all right, you don't want us to vote for the whole government, fine. Yeah. But we can vote for the candidates that will represent the foreigners in Vienna at the end. So all of us can have one common voice in the parliament that can stand up there and have his speech in front of the parliament. Only one person is needed for that, not many, at least to start with, to address all our concerns, all what we're talking about right now that we talk about every day.
Yeah.
So there are so many things that need to be adopted.
Yeah.
That someone has to speak up and go there and tell them to the right people.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, I think that maybe they don't even know about it, what really goes on. If no one tells them, how will they ever find out?
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe it's not even their fault that MI35 does this. Maybe they don't even know about that, all of them. I don't know.
Yeah, I think now, I know that the last years there's been a lot of noise about the MI35. So I think to say that they don't know anything, but I think you make a really good point that if somebody's voice isn't heard, if somebody can't share their experience, then somebody else who's totally living a different life to them might have no clue of what the reality is to come as a foreigner. And I even think to a certain degree there's almost like kind of levels of foreigners. So, for example, we had to go through MA35 to register our residency here. And when I first came, I was British. And then in the following year, I gained Dutch citizenship, which was great for me because Brexit happened and everything else. So I got to stay as a member of the EU. But I remember going and being I took my husband with me because I was like, you come, at least then if you are there with me as a white male, blue eyes, that will, maybe that will help depending on who I get that day. I just nice to have you as a visual. And also being I'm going with the Dutch nationality. It feels like that's a nationality that might be a bit more, I don't know, easier accepted or something. And I thought how terrible is it, that you all these things that go through your mind. And my husband was like, I would never have thought of, not going as a woman, not going as somebody without a European citizenship, not going there as a Black person. He's like, I just wouldn't consider any of these things until I'm living it through living it through your experience. And so being able to hear other people's stories, I think is so important. And one of the reasons I think that when you asked about the podcast and then I listened to a few episodes, I was like, I love this because it's stories that, it's not my life, but there are things that I have in common with somebody who looks totally different to me or lives differently to me, but we have some things in common, but also a side of the story that I would never have known about because I don't, it's not my lived experience. And just, I think it would be great to have, even within different parts of society, more storytelling, more exchanging of this is what life looks like for me. This is how I experience it. These are the challenges I face. And then we'll see on the one hand, it's really different. It's really diverse. And on the other hand, even in our diversity, there are things we have in common.
Exactly. And if we see that there's the same problem among too many people, then all right, this problem is real. We should do something about it. And not just leave it to the individual to have to figure it out for him or herself. Do you think it has been double hard for you because your German is not good and because you're a Black woman in Austria? Do you think that affected even more? Because you mentioned that you took your husband with you. And I don't want to be in your head at that moment and the pressure that you might have had.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's all layers. So you have the foreign layer, you have the gender layer, you have the race layer, and I can imagine you might have then
actually skin color layer. It's not even race layer.
Yeah. And that's not something you can hide. So my husband has the challenges of being a foreigner and not speaking German fluently. But like on the first presentation, you don't know, of course. And whereas it's kind of the assumption already, oh, you're not from here when people see me. And so there's always these kind of layers, or I'm aware of you're just aware of extra perceptions. Or I went to when I had our baby, we had to go to get a little tongue tie cut, and so it was in some outside of Vienna, and afterwards I was looking for a place where I could just have some lunch myself, feed him. We walked into this place and every eye every head turned, and I was like, it's fine, like just keep going. But you just feel very like, yes, hello, I'm here.
The 50s in the US.
Yeah. But in Vienna it's different. I mean, Vienna feels more bit more cosmopolitan. You're more likely to hear various languages. So and the thing is, like, I lived in London my whole life, and even in London I was told to go back to my country, and I at the time I was like,
well, I am in my country.
I'm right here.
All right, so I'll go back home.
I'll just get the bus back, shall I? Yeah.
What area of London did you live early?
In South London, yes. So I'm a very proud South Londoner. So yeah, I mean, it just shows you can have these experiences are not only found in Austria, but they are found here too. So yeah, it's not always, but I think it's the not knowing when it might crop up. So there's a part of you which maybe is always a little bit on alert if you're especially in new places. It's like, okay, this could be an issue. It doesn't have to be, but it could. So prepare yourself just in case. And then when it's not, it's great. And when it is, you're like, okay, I was at least ready to maybe deal with something like this, or some comment, or...
Do you have any situation that you have felt completely uncomfortable? Public transportation besides the
bus. Yeah, the guy on the bus.
On one hand, also I believe the man on the bus was mainly because there are a lot of people on the bus that speak English, and people don't turn back to them to say, we speak German here. So this is probably one of those.
It could be. Yeah, it could be. And that's the thing, you just never know which ism. Is it sexism? Is it racism? Is it whatever it is. Yeah, there's so many. And so, yeah, I mean, like, and one thing is, this was even, I was in a conversation with, we were in a conversation together. It was me, Gideon, my husband, and another person. And they almost didn't address me at all. So they were asking him a question, like, do you do this? Do you do public speaking? Like, there's a reason why it's me sitting here with you. Like, Gideon does not do public, like, he can, but that's not his favorite thing to do. I love a chat, love a conversation. But this person asked him, do you do public speaking? And he said, no, Dominique does. And then the person asked him, oh yeah, but is she good? Is she a good public speaker?
You were right
and
there.
I was sitting right there. I was like, hello, I'm here. And so Gideon said, well, I believe she is, but the best person to check with is her. And then he looked at me, so that I could then respond, and also to direct the person's attention to me. Yeah. So it's in those moments that you're like, goodness me, do these where are these attitudes or mindsets from that as a woman or as a married woman, I couldn't possibly speak for myself, or I couldn't possibly be a good public speaker. Because the interesting thing was when they asked the question of Gideon, it wasn't, are you good or not? It was just, do you do it? Because if you do, like, we'd love to have you speak. Whereas when it came to me, it was like, well, she can only do it if she's good enough. And I think that's a question that probably plagues lots of women, that you often have to, the sense of, I have to prove myself beyond beyond what's normal, because there's expectation. Well, if you're going to do it, then you have to do it perfectly. Whereas a guy can do it averagely, and people will still be like, "Oh, amazing, you're great." But yeah, at the same time, I think I try not to dwell too much, because then you end up doing stuff in order to prove something to someone, rather than just being who you are. And I think that's way more valuable than trying to always prove somebody wrong, because you waste a lot of time and energy, and it's less fun.
Definitely. There's something that I read recently. It was just a quote from a movie that says, ships only sink because they let the water get in.
That's so good. Yeah.
You don't have to let that in.
No.
Just let it be around you where it belongs, but don't let that inside of you.
Yeah, exactly. And do the thing that as a ship, you're made to sail and to journey and travel, like live that out.
And to be above the water.
Yeah, that's so true. Because like, what's your experience as somebody? Because I think you weren't born in Austria, or you're not Austrian.
I moved here probably 2 months after you.
Okay. So you know what it's like.
I know the pandemic in Austria. And I did have many problems as well, as especially with the immigration office. Many times they just it was even funnier than you sometimes, because the first time that I applied for my resident permit, I came here as a student, as an international student, and I just had the first two levels accomplished in Albania, first two levels of German. But you know how it is until A2, A2, you really don't know anything. Like, you just know how to read, but you don't know what you're reading. Yeah. So I was trying to get in touch with the officer that had my dossier, and I'd call her. The funny thing is that she was Albanian as well as me. And they are completely allowed to speak to your language to help you. Yeah. I know that for sure. Yeah. But I call her. I speak to her in English at first. And then she replies to me in German. I didn't understand. Over the phone, it's double hard.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I tell her, can we please switch to English? I only know A2 in German. I don't know how to proceed, especially for legal conversations and video conversations. And she said, okay, but this is the last time I speak to you in English. Wow. First and last time, she said. And she clearly sees that I have applied for a university degree, where first I have to go through the German courses. Yes. And she sees that I'm registered in the German course, and I will just start. So what can I do? Yeah. I did learn the first two levels that the country restricted me to do. Yeah. I took the degree. Now I'm bringing them to you. Why are you making it even? Yeah. Why making it even What do you expect? Like, whatever. I'm not going to speak German to you because I can't. It's impossible. I was just outside the office, and she had an appointment with me or something. She wasn't coming out to tell to the guardian to let me in. I called. He told me call her. So I did have, and it was also hard because she could have spoken to me in my native language. Just to tell me 1-2 sentences. Just
to quickly make sure it's clear for you. And
So I did have it. And then again, the second time, it took me 6 months to do it. But this was pretty much regular for them. We already know it. So, but in the everyday life, I must say that it might have helped that I look white. So I have to say it. It's in the sense that because that's how they are. Yeah. Like we were talking about. All right, they say this is one of us.
Yes, yeah.
So let's make it a bit easier for them sometimes. Yeah. But as soon as I open my mouth, that I don't speak good German, then it starts all over again. All right, he's not one of us anymore. Let's leave him out. Let's make it hard for him. Yeah. But that's mainly, I didn't have many personal situations because of being a foreigner, besides the one I was mentioning you about, but it's the system, some things from the system that make it harder. You maybe didn't go through it because you became a EU citizen. But for non-EU citizens, it's hard to start working.
Yes.
Because there's an AMS process that takes so long. And it's almost financially impossible to switch jobs, because first you have to give a notice from the first job where you're working 1 month ahead, then you quit the job.
Oh my goodness.
You have to get the paper that you have quit the job, then you apply for a new one, which takes 1 month or 1 month and a half, up to 6 weeks. Then you don't work for 6 weeks. But as an international student, it's very hard not to work for 6 weeks. And we don't get like a stipendium from the government or anything like that. So you're on your own. And to them, it might make sense because they can say, all right, you proved up front that you can support yourself financially. But we know all that the price, it's not true in a sense that you can't live with that price that you declare anymore with a official standard price. That you can't, because things got just so expensive, especially after the pandemic. So they have to also recognize the fact that, yes, I declare you a certain amount, but that could be for like 6 months until I settle, I find a job. And then you have to let me work easier. Because I'm trying to work. And by trying to work, it means that I'm avoiding all sorts of criminal activities in your country.
To survive.
So I'm becoming a good citizen for you and for myself as well. And they have to help this thing go through, not make it harder. There's nothing wrong with people trying to work while studying. That's the best thing you can ask for.
They're contributing to the economy. They're supporting themselves,
learning the language and everything. So what else do you want more? Why you make it so hard for them to live here?
I mean, I don't I'm from the UK, and I know that the UK has also been in the headlines recently for one, for Brexit and that whole situation, but also for not making it easy for people, and not or making it so hard that people are losing their lives just trying to survive. And I don't know, there's just such a responsibility in society in general, I think, in Europe, to how do you look after your citizens, but also how do you look after the citizens in neighboring countries? And I don't know, I think there's a lot I would want to say to politicians, and a lot that I want to be like, come on, what are you guys doing? But also being like, it must be a hell of a job if you take it seriously. I can't imagine the weight of certain leadership positions, and I think that's probably the frustrations that people are wondering. Well, how seriously do you take the responsibility that you have to look after people?
Although I'll force them to go up there. True. They wanted to so badly. They kept telling people for 1 month, vote me. So now that they start complaining. It's so hard to be the prime minister. So I can do everything. And whatsoever. So just quit and let someone else do it. Or let's have 5 prime ministers.
Or what's the best way forward? Although I will say, we absolutely chose to be parents, but there are days when I'm like, this is so hard.
Definitely.
And if I can't be like, you know what, I'm gonna just stop now. I've had enough. I don't know. It's I think there's always a part of me which is I want to. I really believe in leadership and the importance of it, and the responsibility of it. But then also recognizing, if we're in a culture where it's can be so individualistic and so I need to survive, so I look after my needs, and anybody who's going to help me get my needs, they're the ones I take care of. And if you can't serve me, then I don't serve you. I'm like, this is not let's just flip that all around, and let's use what we have for the benefit and for the good of the other person, even if they don't believe the same things that I believe or speak the same language that I speak, or we have I think this whole idea of differences and celebrating that, it's a big, it's very important, I think, for me and how I look at the world.
Do you often reflect your frustrations in writing? Is it a way for you to let things out?
Yeah, I think it's from up until now, it's been a lot of so I would on my personal social media or on like my own journal, like I have written lots, and like I said, like kind of speaking. So like I would speak at events where there's like with young people, I think to kind of communicate these things, but I haven't it's not like an official a place where I can be like, this is where if you want to hear more of my views, go read here. But I think that for me, like there's a saying, like a problem shared is a problem halved, and that this idea of like sharing, storytelling, for me is a big way of processing some of these big things, and maybe helping others to kind of like, well, where can we meet? Even if it's not halfway, like I'll come a little bit closer to you, you come a little bit closer to me, and using my words is I think definitely whatever I'm doing, whatever role I have, it's something that's you'll find me using.
Do you write anything else apart what you write for your job? And like you offer copywriting service, right?
Yeah.
But besides that, do you write something for your own pleasure, or like literature, or novel? Are you working on something?
You're the third person this month or this week has asked me, and like
that's the first thing that comes in mind when you say that you're a writer.
Yeah. I think I want to write a book, and it's there, but it will come. I started when we first moved here, a kind of like a project. It's called Nomad 61, and it was just for a month, I got every day for a month different artists to use their talents, and the theme was Advent. So I kind of went through the different words that for Advent and the Christian faith, and kind of put it together. So there were singers and dancers, poets, all that stuff. And I wrote 4 blog articles. I wrote the text for it. It was a very intense month, but it was lockdown, so there was a bit of space to do that. So I have that space, and I think I'd want to go back into that, and that would be just for me. That would just be my creative outlet, and to write about things like belonging and diversity and that kind of stuff. And then on my personal, I often will, if something really gets me, then I will, more often than not, put it into a post and just see. And there's often things that you see like what really resonates with people, and it's often the stories, the personal stories that people are like, oh yeah, me too, and that really hit deep. And I like those, having those kind of connective stories. This is a good reminder. Like, the book needs to happen one day, but right now, like between work and family and everything else, I'm like, ooh, where's that space where I can sit down and listen to what's really bubbling up inside?
But it's so hard to write a book outside work when your work is writing, because you anyway use your techniques and your courage. You anyway use them in your daily job when you're a writer. And sometimes some good writers from history were blessed to have the courage to not do writing as a daily job, and do something else, something totally different. so they could keep their brain completely clean from the writing thoughts and everything. So you could just do like they did, like worked in a factory, or Bukowski was a mailman, and things like
really?
this.
I didn't know. Okay.
Oh yeah, for 40 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So their writing skills, not skills, but inspiration and thoughts and wording, they just remain there, ready to be used after work. Which on the other hand is hard when you do a 9 to 5, because you really don't have the nerves anymore. And you don't have the physical power to just sit. You just want to lay in bed. So best thing would be to have a part-time job that is not related to writing, but supports you enough to have a living, which doesn't happen.
Yes.
So we are in this circle that doesn't exist.
No, there's no
it's
perfect.
Like I don't have a job because I don't have experience, because I don't have a job. It's an endless circle.
What do you want from me? Yeah.
So that's why at the end of the day, a lot of people who are born rich just make it in whatever they want to do in life. Yeah, you want to be a golf player? Sure, here are $1 million, just buy your new suit.
Exactly,
and go play golf with your friends.
Yeah.
So,
I was born in the wrong family. Clearly, I was made to.
How was your family? How did you grow up?
So I'm one of 3. I have a younger brother and sister. I'm the eldest. My dad is from Jamaica. My mum is from South America, and they both moved to the UK. My mum as a child, and my dad as a young adult. And so, they've been there longer than they ever lived out anywhere else now. But yeah, so I think I lived in both worlds. Like my dad jokes sometimes that his children are not Jamaican because we're British, but then and we grew up in the British society. And then on the other side, there are things that sometimes, like I remember things I would say at school, and I realize, oh wait, that's not necessarily what everybody whatever the phrases that everybody uses, because it's very it's influenced by the Jamaican culture and it's influenced by South American culture. So I think I've always had this sense of living in 2 worlds at the same time. And it's funny because I know, you got me thinking when you were saying about the writing process. And I think part of what I really love about being able to write every day is that I get to, is helping other people tell their story. So I love, even if it's something that, not a topic that's particularly interesting to me, but I know that for the other person, like, look, this is what I want to say. I just don't know how to write it. I don't know how to say it, how to communicate it. And I'm like, give it to me. And that's actually how I got my first writing, my first paid writing assignment was somebody had written a blog, and they were obviously, like, it was well written, but it was obviously that they were writing in the language that wasn't one that they had the most command over, and wasn't their kind of mother tongue. And I was like, look, you've written something really well, that's really important, but because of only because of the grammar or the way that you've expressed stuff, that I feel like the impact is less. And I'd love to, like, if you're happy for me to have a look through it, I can just edit it a little bit so that the impact comes across. And they said, oh yeah, sure. So I did that for free. And then they said, like, you've done such a good job with it. Could you take because like our whole team is are non-native speakers. And speaking is different to writing. Like, would you take all their blog stuff and do it now? I was like, oh yeah. Wow. But I think, so I love the challenge of writing, and if I can do that plus help somebody else's point come across, then I'm in my zone. Yeah. I think so.
That goes way beyond just being good at wording or grammar. That's a lot more, because you're make things easier to understand, not just saying or choosing the right word for it. It's the whole thing. It's a whole process.
Yeah.
Do you regularly? So you both work in copywriting?
So I do the content writing, and Gideon does web development and kind of really like IT stuff that again makes processes easier. So if you want to automate something, he can normally set that up for you. And it's interesting because he started with doing web design, and then again a client of his was like, oh, I really need to find somebody to help me edit my blogs because I'm writing, it's costing me so much time, and it's time that I can't spend in my business, but I know that I want to have the blogs because that helps me get business. But I need an editor. And he's like, oh, well, I might actually know somebody. And so then he referred that person to me.
And he asked, is she good?
Thankfully, this one was like, oh, okay, bring it on. And then we just realized that we kind of saw how much it goes together, the content, and we're like, if we can serve people this way, like in one place, they get the content and they get their website built or they get their blog uploaded and that kind of stuff, then this is could be an interesting offer, and let's really put that together. So I came when I finished maternity leave with our third son. It was kind of like, let's do it, and let's see what happens, and we did like a kind of a branding course, and that was really fun because we took the time to sit down and be like, okay, who are we? What do we stand for? And how do we bring that into our work? And then it kind of transforms it from just doing like delivering a website or just delivering content to kind of a real purpose in how we do it, and that's kind of how it's called The Works, because our surname is von Werkhoven, but non-Dutchies can say it, von Werkhoven. So it's Dutch.
It's a verb, right?
Werk,
but it's
so it's
work.
The Works, and then The Works is our business name. So we kind of took it out because that's who we are. You work with both of us, and it means that we can also bring people in or offer other services. Because I think one of the names we had was like Web and Words. That was going to be the business name. But I was like, then we're maybe stuck with only offering web. And what if we do other stuff? And it's really about, we bring ourselves to the project. We bring our skills. We bring our vision and values to the other person's projects. So then The Works kind of came. And in English, you say like, I want something with the full works. Like I want a variety of things. And that's also, we said like, we want to work with a variety of people. We in ourselves are diverse in our language, our cultural background, like we said, skin color, things that we enjoy. That's also a big mix. And so we want to reflect that in what we do and how we work.
How's it going?
Good. I don't know, like it's hard to get that balance between working on your business and working in it. So by on it, I mean like doing all your own content marketing. And like I think like even working on our own website, which is the thing that we offer, you're like, oh wait, I'll get to it when I finished client work, and or like really being disciplined to carve out the time to work on your own content and your own website. But it's proved to be a lot of fun. We are working with, for example, a youth organization in the Netherlands to help. They've got this a project. It's like a food truck, and they work with young men and women that you might not normally hire. But by working with them, they get the experience that they need, so they can apply for jobs that say you need to have experience at the age of 18. So it's great working on projects like that, but also working with an author and a business consultant. So it's just different. I love that we have up until now have such different types of clients that we get to work with. But like it's, I don't know, as I think all small businesses, it's always a juggle with your resources and how can you best use them to do what you want to do, to grow, develop. So we're also figuring that out as we go along. But it's good. It's fun.
How do you find the taxation system and everything?
Boo. Yeah, I think we realized pretty soon, like we were probably like, I think I read in a Facebook group for self-employed in Austria, like this is probably not the place where as a self-employed person you're going to get mega rich. Like the stories you hear from the States where like, you know, a one person organization is now worth trillions of dollars and is living their best life. Like you might live your best life, but without the trillion dollars here.
You definitely need to start a GmbH.
Yeah.
You can't do that as Einzelunternehmer.
No. So yeah, maybe we'll get there one day, but then at the same time, like our whole thing is we want to serve the small, so like the non-profits, the small solopreneurs, the small businesses. It's like, well, how can we deliver a service that maybe is a bit more accessible to you, but that still you still get to showcase who you are, and so it's like coming kind of full circle to where that conversation we had about storytelling, about being able to be who you are. That's what we kind of hope to serve in a small way through websites, through content. This idea of like, you've got your business, you're allowed to be here. How can we make sure that others hear about what you're doing? And using some of the technology that maybe bigger organizations use. Like if we all share it, we can get you a step further. Like I'm not promising that, you know, by working with us and having a website, you're gonna, become a millionaire. But we want to help people show up online, be confident in how they do it. So I can help the English or the Dutch, but just that they, have the opportunity to showcase what they're doing and who they are.
How do people read long blogs anymore? It's over.
Yeah, people think people often like, oh, but this is generation, they don't read anymore. It's all video. It's all
short
but
text.
It's all short text. And the thing is, it's not that it's all short text, because you can have a long text, but it's how you format it, how it's set up, that makes it easier to read. And before, like if it's set up well, I think somebody reads it much easier than if it's one big chunk of text. You just like, you look at it, you think, no thanks.
People are looking for words in between rather than just, it's more like writing for skimmers.
Yes.
Rather than
Exactly.
I read all sorts of advices about copywriting all over the internet, that you just make some words bold, some of them writing in capital letters, and that's how you work nowadays.
You have to, like, I think, and that's the somehow the thought process, not just between what you say, but how you say it, and then how you set it up. And like we also do, so there's like we do a lot of stuff with SEO, so search engine optimization. And then people think, oh yeah, but it's just about like, if I throw lots of, one word in, then that's enough. That's enough. And it's like, well, actually, that's not how it works.
You do it.
And and I think I also enjoy that puzzle of being like, okay, how can we, like, if we know these are your key phrases or your keywords, and we know what people are looking for, like, how can we write things that are interesting for them, that are going to help them, but that also, again, it helps you to tell your story, to communicate the value or knowledge that you have and share it with somebody else that will help them. And so there's also this puzzle element between what to say, how to say it, and how to highlight it in a way that makes people read it. And you'd be surprised, like sometimes you think, oh, nobody's really interested in something very technical, but actually that's sometimes the most read blogs are the ones that are very technical in nature and that explain something. But if they're explained well in a way that somebody can grasp, then they'll read the whole thing. So it's I think it's just this balance of.
It's totally that. It's one of the most interesting book is the short A Brief History of Time, I think, from Stephen Hawking.
Oh, I've not read that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a short book, but it's so well told, and he talks about physics and all sorts of things that I never understood before, and just the way he tells it through jokes, through simple words, and mainly through examples. That's what make people understand things. If you use examples for difficult things, that they will understand.
Yeah.
If you associate this difficult thing with something from everyday life, it makes it easier. And that's so it's an amazing book, not because of learning physics, because people might not be interested in physics, but for writers, it's interesting to see. I mean, he probably used the ghostwriter as well. I don't think he just wrote it
maybe. Who knows a bit.
It's fantastic how things are made easier to understand. It's a real guide. Could be also a guide for copywriting.
I'll have to check that out. Actually, because I think that's. I mean, I love reading and like seeing how different people use different writing techniques. And like one of my challenges is to read more Dutch books, just to kind of stretch, because I think another part of my brain gets engaged when I'm reading in a different language. So then, and I think also then I understand the experience of somebody who is reading something in another language, because then that helps me how I write in English. I'm writing to other people who maybe also speak and understand English, but maybe somebody who doesn't have. And so how can I write it in a way that even somebody who hasn't got certain levels of English can still understand? And I think also having kids helps, because I'm often like come out with all these questions like, Mama, what does sexy mean? Mama, what does this mean? Like, okay, well, how am I going to explain it to you? Because we try to be one of our principles is to be as honest as we can and to explain everything to them on a level that they can understand. And so you're like, okay, how would I explain this? Or, Mama, why is this happening? Why is this country attacking the other country? What's going on there? Are we safe? And all kinds of things. And how do you break it down so that a 6-year-old gets it?
So theoretically, every good mom is a good copywriter.
I think so. Or you get a lot of practice. Because you're challenged all the time to break it down.
That's the basic to make things understandable. But a lot of people think that when you tell them you're a writer, they say, "Oh, so cool! You probably drink a lot at night and you write in the evenings." And no, it's a lot of technical work.
It is a lot.
It's so technical. You just wake up at 5-6 in the morning when everyone is sleeping and you're fresh. And you maximum can drink a coffee or two, and you have to concentrate and find proper. It's not just let it go, whatever comes in. It's not just that. It's not that at all.
Hey, you sound like you're speaking from experience.
I write as well. I'm a screenwriter by profession. So I've also published a book with short stories.
Oh, nice.
Back 4 years ago.
Oh.
So I know how it feels.
You know how, yes.
So people would also tell me like, I just get a drink in a bar and you sit there and you write whatever you want to write. Try to sell that after. But do you also find you get like moments of inspiration at really inconvenient moments? So like I'll be in the shower and I'm like, oh, I found this is the perfect sentence. Makes sense. Totally makes sense. That's how it comes, and then you have to note it somewhere. But it's definitely what comes in your mind first. It's just the only thing that you might preserve from that. It might be the topic, or best thing if that when you sit down and try to explain it later is to try to remember what you felt when that thing came in your mind. Because that's what you need, and that's what other people might need to hear or read. It's like you go in a building that has no signs, or if a building is trying to put signs there, you just go in the building and see that. You see it for yourself, how it feels and what kind of orientation you need. That's pretty much the same thing when you go back in time to the moment that you thought. That's a really helpful picture actually as to how to write, because you're like, well, where do I need to end up and how do I need to get there? And once you've mapped that out for yourself, then you can
you can explain it, and if it's not clear for you as the writer, you can't make it clear for anybody else.
It's like if there's a new product, let's say they want to sell new tables, you just order the table, you get it home, and you sit around it. You really describe how it feels, and even if there are bad things about it that you spot, but you still don't want to put them in your writing, then you try to avoid them, or you try to say something else that is better, and you avoid saying. So it's best writers are writers who experience what they're writing.
Yes,
that's why ghostwritten books are never as good as books that are with the name of the author. Because they haven't experienced that. So they can't. Or either it's just like you write a book, whatever you want, and you give it to me, I put my name on it, then it will be good. But if I tell you a story and I want you to write it about me, it will be very, very good. But there will still be this
a little bit,
1% at the end that it will not connect 100%. For example, there are two movies that I know about. Some, they call it like Skeletons in the Closet for the UN, for the United Nations. They have some spots in the history that
of course.
Not, of course.
Who doesn't?
So there's one about the Srebrenica massacre. I don't know if you heard of it, in Bosnia and Herzegovina in the 90s with the Serbians and the Montenegro people. So they were there, but they didn't intervene. And that movie was just recently released a couple of years ago, called Aida.
Oh, yeah.
And it's made by people from Montenegro, by a Montenegro filmmaker, and you really feel what they felt. You're there when it's happening. On the other hand, there is another one that is called Hotel Rwanda. I don't know if you heard of it. You've seen the movie?
Well, some of it I couldn't watch it all.
Yes, because it doesn't make sense. Because it's written from Hollywood screenwriters. That they have maximum been sent to Rwanda for 3 days just to see how it looks. So they can just put the locations on the script. But they have no idea how it feels. And it's not their fault. They just want to try to do the job. But the movie doesn't feel. They just put a romantic story in the middle of war and with words that don't make sense. During they're having bombs thrown all over them, and they're talking things that don't make sense.
Like,
so we know
we're not talking about the groceries right now.
There's a bomb coming right in front of you right now. Where now? All right, it's gone. Dead. So that's what I'm talking about when I say that it will be good, but it won't be the best if it's not written from the person that has experienced.
I think it's like a friend of mine works in TV, and they make documentaries, and they've just done one about life of refugees, but they interviewed 5 refugees, I think, and followed them and created this whole documentary. And what is so powerful is that it's their stories in their words. But I think, as the production company, like, their job was to kind of weave it all together so that, again, the impact really comes across. And I think that's often the challenge as the ghostwriter or the production company or the storyteller behind the storytellers, is to really be listening to the authentic stories, and to be able to go, this bit we're going to draw out because this is maybe a bit more interesting than the story about your shopping, or even to be like, that story which maybe you think is boring because it talks about small details, actually that's it. It's in the magic, in the small details, and the everyday, ordinary stuff. And so I feel like that's more the role of the ghost author or the interviewer, is to be listening to somebody else tell their story, and to be like, we're going to zoom in here and amplify this part of your humanity or your story. It's but I think you definitely can tell somebody who's sharing a lived experience and somebody who's not sharing a lived experience, and you're right, you definitely hear a difference in what they share because it's less raw or authentic.
The other day I was watching a movie that it was about I think the movie is called The Swimmers. I think it's also on Netflix. I don't usually watch Netflix films, but I happened to see this. It was about two sisters who were swimmers in Syria, and they wanted to leave the country because of the war. So they go to Turkey, and from Turkey they would take a boat to go to Greece.
Okay.
But the boat was too small. There were too many people. And it was the first time actually that I see in a movie a real experience how it is to cross the sea through a boat. We all hear about it. We read about it on the news, online, everywhere. We heard about it, and we've seen other films treat this situation, but we mainly see when they jump on the boat and when they are on the other seashore. I've never seen before the full experience of crossing the sea. This one was so real. And even though you could tell that it was a low budget film, the way that told the story, the story was told was fantastic, because the person who made the movie was also from Syria, and he probably might have also maybe went to a new country through a boat, not the same boat, but maybe through another boat, and he knows how it feels. Or maybe he wasn't on a boat, but some family member or friend, but he is from the country and he knows what it's like to be bombed or to be under war, under attack and everything. So it was so powerful and looked so real, and you really, it helps to improve your opinion about all immigration thing. And this is one topic only. And if you want to get opinions from other things and you want to watch that through movie, because a lot of people say, I don't want to read the book, I want to watch the movie. So it's best if you see it with movies that are made from filmmakers that are at least from the same country, so they know how it feels. No one would ever write a movie about the American dream unless there's been an immigrant in the US who has made it. Or at least,
you do it with hope that they...
No, I can't write it from Vienna, a movie about the American dream.
You could try, but...
I could try. It's not going to be good at all.
No.
It's not going to make sense to the people, to the Americans who's going to watch the movie. And they go, no, this never happens. Just like the movie I was telling you, Hotel Rwanda, that for someone as me, for example, who has lived in the Balkans, I have an idea about that. I said, that never happens like that in these things. So
and I think authentic storytelling is has the win every time. But I don't know. I wonder whether when it comes to movies and selling, there's the sense of whatever the story, which has a romantic spin to it, will make mega bucks. So we'll tell that story rather than actually, I just want to tell the story that's true, or the story that's really lived, whether or not that's going to make the most money or not.
But even for the writer, sometimes talking about more artistically, it's not such a good quality to have their names in these things. I've done sometimes things like this, and I said I don't want my name on it, and I have increased the price because it's something that I know it's not going to be that good for my CV. First, I don't put my name there because at the end of the day, we all need the money, and it's nice if we get paid through our job as writers. But I don't want to have that in my curriculum, so let's leave that out.
I'll lend you my words, but just keep my name out of it.
But I put your website. It is technically for people who are listening, it is in the description. So what else would you like to tell about it? Something we want to know.
About the works?
The works.
Yes, it's theworks.nl. And the reason it's .nl is one, because we're Dutch, but two, because there's actually a rock band that's called The Works.
Really?
In the States. Yeah. Who knew?
I have to check it out.
Yeah. So, and they have the .com. So we couldn't have it, but we could have the .nl. So which we like because like I said, we're Dutch. And it's you can go visit it. It is currently live, and we're on Instagram as We Are The Works. So that's our Instagram handle, and it really is for solopreneurs, freelancers, small businesses, and nonprofits who who want to, like, our tagline is show up online with confidence, and be found with ease. Like, we believe and we want small businesses, nonprofits, to be found and to be able to have their websites, to have text and content that reflects who they are, as a way of, and it's not that we don't believe that websites are the only way to do business, but it's something that people go looking for when they want to connect with you or find out more information. So it's like, well, if this can be something that if you're serious about building your business or your nonprofit, if you want to make sales for your services or people to buy your products or other people to support your cause, then like let's build your website. And we want to and I think because we are also a small business, we want to champion people. We want to, so we don't just kind of like hit and run, build and run. We want to hear people's stories and try to reflect that also in what they do. And because we do it ourselves, like I think, we give a lot of attention to people, and
you want to offer customized.
Exactly. That because we're, like I said, we're all different, and so like you'll see on our logo, we have 3 lines, and that's because we're like it's about standing out, but it's also about being different in the mix of people, and seeing that actually in some ways we're the same because we're all different.
That's what I love about small businesses, because it's like you go to a small shop and there's a person taking care of you and trying to find what you need. It's like you go to a big shop when you want to buy a suit, you just can't take what is there produced industrially, but you go to a small manufacturer, tailor, and they just make the suit accordingly, and it's affordable at the end of the day.
And it's really and it
really fits,
and it fits you. Exactly. And I mean, like, you know, we all need a different we all need like clothes, and sometimes you just need a black t-shirt at the end. But like some of my favorite things to wear are the ones that come from small businesses, because it's like there's only one of this, or there's maybe 10, and I get to have one of them. And so like I pay a little bit more, but it also lasts me the whole time. It's not like after 3 wears I have to get something new. And I've had a really personalized experience. And so the item of clothing, whenever I put it on, it's with a lot of pride. And I can, like I have one skirt that I bought from a small business, and like, I think 3 or 4 times, even in Vienna, I've had people be like, "Oh, I love your skirt. Like, where is it from? Can I have like?" And I think in our minds, like that's the kind of experience we want people to have with their website, because of course you can go and you can, build something yourself, and it's and I think we encourage people to try that first, and then when they're ready to kind of like expand and to make it a little bit more in line with their new, kind of a new business status, then come to us. But we want most of all for people to feel like, hey, this is my website, this is who I am, this is my business.
Exactly.
Hey, check it out. And so
it's like when you go to a store, to clothing store, and you enter and you see like 6 shirts or the same way, and there are 2 types of people: those who say, yes, I want this because everyone has it. And then there's the other people who say, no, I don't want this because everyone has it.
Yeah, exactly. So like
you're more for the second type.
We were second type. Like, we want it because we want to have a website, but we want it to feel like us. It should feel like me. I should feel seen. I should feel heard in the process. And that's what we how we work, but also what we want for others. And it's really fun for us also, because like I said, you get to meet so many different types of people, and it's the challenge, like, hey, how do we make sure that you are reflected in the final product?
It's great. I wish you a lot of luck.
Thank you. It's been like really fun to chat with you, and I'm really listening. Like, I'm going through because I didn't know about the international podcast before, but now that I do, I'm like going through episode after episode, just hearing the stories. So thank you so much for
thank you very
inviting
much.
me.